Alrighty, yo, what is going on for about? It's your boy Mr. DDG94 back with another reaction video. Today we're going to react to the decline of GameStop. What happened? Oh boy, GameStop. I'm surprised GameStop is still around at this point in time. Like, every time I see a GameStop, I'm like, wow, they still around? They haven't died yet? I'm just waiting for the inevitable at this point. But yeah, back in the days, GameStop used to be that store, bruh. For real, GameStop used to be that store. I ain't gonna give it GOAT status. I would never give GameStop GOAT status. You mean to tell me I come through with a PlayStation and about 25 games, and you telling me I come and get $20 back for that?
Hell no, to the no. Hey, boy, ain't no fucking way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
I'm just saying, bro.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard.
Hey, yo, what the fuck? Delete! Delete!
Boy, if you don't get...
Delete!
What
Delete!
the hell?
Delete! Delete! Delete!
God, no way.
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
I have this cool new website where you can submit potential video ideas and vote on previous submissions. Well, it turns out everyone wants me to talk about GameStop more than anything else. And I can see why. There's a good chance that they are, or once were, a big part of your life, and they're not doing well. I don't want to mislead you. I've covered companies on this channel that have fallen much further than this. To me anyway, their current situation isn't as bad as some people are making it out to be. I think GameStop is one of those places that everyone likes to make fun of, right? You love to hate them, or maybe you just straight up hate them. So maybe when they fall on tough times like this, people like to exaggerate the issue. Or maybe it's because this is a decline that's easy to understand. I'll go more into it later, but more and more people are buying their games digitally, and that's not good for a store that relies on the sale of physical copies. So when we look at their sales over the last 10 years, they actually haven't gone down in the way that we might expect. Some of the biggest evidence of their decline is a $673 million loss in 2018, which is actually the result of a near billion-dollar goodwill impairment charge that they say is a result of a sustained decline in our market capitalization and lower forecasted cash flows. So that brings us to their stock price, which is horrible. What can I say about it? $40 range in 2015 to single digits in 2019.
Damn.
It's not that they're doing terribly at the moment, it's more that the market has no confidence in the future of the company. It feels like they've been diagnosed with a life-threatening disease. The symptoms are starting to show now, but if untreated, this thing can go bad fast. And there's no easy treatment. They've been going through CEOs like crazy, and none of them have put together a clear plan. Let me go back to the beginning. James McCurry and Gary Cousins were two friends attending Harvard.
Listen, if GameStop wants to stay alive, just turn to a thrift store at this point, bro. Just sell all consoles, bro. Sell PC parts. You know what I'm saying? Become a thrift store. Become an electronic thrift store. Sell PC parts. Sell gaming PCs. Don't just sell game consoles. Sell gaming PCs. Have gaming PCs that you buy and sell them at a very low price. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure a lot of people will start buying shit from y'all. Like, nobody fucks with GameStop like that, bro. We only fuck with... Only reason you will fuck with GameStop is if a new game comes out. But shit, everybody buying the shit digitally now. So what the fuck is the purpose of going to the store if I can have it digitally just sitting right there waiting for me? It's basically at this point, GameStop needs to consider a new marketing strategy. I would consider them going into the thrift store area where they just become a thrift store. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these electronic thrift stores, they do numbers, bro. Like, I don't know, like Game Exchange or your local mom and pop shop that sells like old ass CDs, old ass what you call them things, record players and stuff like that, vinyls. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers that sell like old ass Nintendos, Nintendo 64s, Nintendo GameCubes, Nintendo DSs. You know what I'm saying? For like $50, $40 and shit. PSPs for like $80 and shit. Like, bro, imagine they start selling PCs too. Or you start selling PC parts. You start getting graphics cards and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Fans and all that stuff. You could definitely make bank. They just, I don't know why they haven't reached that market yet. At one point, they were selling cell phones. I remember they were selling iPhones for a minute.
Business school with aspirations of starting a business together. A few years after graduation, they came up with an idea for a potential new business that would specialize in selling computer software and video games. Here's why they thought that would be a good idea. For one, home computers were becoming popular. The manufacturers had price wars going on, they were becoming cheaper and better, and everyone was buying them. The other reason was the popularity of home video game consoles. The video game market was going crazy in the early 80s. You had the Atari 2600, of course, selling 30 million units. But then you also had Intellivision and ColecoVision pushing their way into the market, along with countless others. In fact, a small tangent, but do you know about the great video game crash of 1983? In that year, the entire North American video game market came crashing down, and a big reason behind it was oversaturation. Just imagine that. So many companies saw such great potential in the market. We're talking about dozens of them, all coming out with their consoles and the games to go with them, along with third parties producing their games to be played on these consoles. It was all too much. There was no uniformity. They were all being rushed out. In many cases, the quality became questionable, which
because it's the same game over and over again.
With the rising popularity,
it was literally the same game over and over again. I don't know how y'all was playing games back in these days.
We're struggling. I only mention the crash because it helps express how booming the market was just before it. Back to these two. It took them a little time to get the funding for their store. It ultimately came about a year later by Ross Perot, if you know that guy, who ultimately bought in and received 1/3 ownership. In late 1983, they opened their first store in Dallas and called it Babbage's, named after a mathematician from the 1800s that appears to have done a lot of original early work in inventing the computer. They did open their first store right in the middle of the big video game crash, so that wasn't good. They posted some pretty major losses in the first few years, but they made it through it. They were sure to sell mostly games from the most popular consoles, like the Atari 2600, plus computer software was a big part of their business. Plus, they opened it in the middle of the crash and not before it, so I theorize that motivated them to put a larger emphasis on the home computer side of things since they already saw where the consoles were headed. In 1985, and maybe you've heard of this, the Nintendo Entertainment System was released in North America, and it's generally credited with saving the industry. 60 million units sold, which was good news for a store that sold video games for it. These games became an ever-increasing portion of their business, and in the following years, Babbage's finally started turning profits. In 1988, they became a public company when they sold 30% of it for $20 million, and that $20 million was put right back into the store and used to open new locations. New systems kept coming out, video games continued growing in popularity, and it was all good for Babbage's. Things get a little messy from here, and it's easy to get lost in the details, so let me just go over some of the highlights. In 1994, they doubled in size when they merged with another similar software store called Software Etc. It was a 380 store chain merging with a 335 store chain. By 1996, there were all these new systems on the market, and it motivated Toys R Us and Best Buy and everyone else to get involved. All the new competition caused sales to drop and brought them into bankruptcy. The next month, it was bought by Leonard Riggio, who was the founder and primary owner of Barnes & Noble, and he was already involved in this business too, since he helped start Software Etc. From there, he closed a couple hundred stores, restructured a few things, and in 1999, started opening stores under the name GameStop. They would focus more on used video games. A few months later, the entire company was sold again, this time to Barnes & Noble. They saw this as a good opportunity to enter the video game market and thought that the $215 million they paid for it was a good deal. It included 495 stores, only 20 of which were branded as GameStop, and the rest were either Babbage's or Software Etc. About a year later, Barnes & Noble made another deal when they bought bought 400 Funko Land stores for $162 million. Soon after, Funko's name was changed to GameStop. In 2002, Barnes & Noble decided to make GameStop a public company, but still maintain majority ownership. 2 years later, through a combination of a $100 million stock repurchase and an additional dividend distribution, Barnes & Noble ended their involvement and GameStop was now on their own. Holy cow, that was a lot. But by 2004, they were incredibly successful. They proudly called themselves America's largest video game retailer, and it was hard for anyone to dispute that. They were adding hundreds of new locations every year while rebranding those other stores as GameStops. Their revenues were increasing accordingly, mostly due to the release and growing popularity of the PS2, Xbox, GameCube, and handheld systems over this time. They published Game Informer, which at that time was the largest growing magazine in the country with over 2 million.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's here, me! That's why he's the GOAT!
Game Informer was that motherfucking magazine. You had to have it. Oh man, shout out to Game Informer. Shout out to GameStop having Game Informer, man. You could get the subscription. I think the subscription back then was like 50 cents a month. Shit was like 50 cents a month. My mom gladly paid for that. You should get all the Game Informers in the mail and shit. Go in the mailbox. Every month was a new Game Informer. Get the new Game Informer. Look at all the new games. Oh, I want that. Oh, I want that, Mama. I want that. Christmas time. Oh man, y'all just don't understand. Game Informer was that shit.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's here, me! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Paid subscribers. They had an online presence with GameStop.com and an arrangement with Amazon that made GameStop the exclusive specialty video game retailer listed on their site. However you want to define success, I think they were meeting the criteria. And it just gets better from there. The next year, they took out almost $1 billion in debt to buy what many would consider their biggest competitor, Electronics Boutique, who you may know better as EB Games.
Yeah, that's what happened to
quite
them.
A year. Their store count doubled in the United States, and they added hundreds of new locations throughout Canada, Australia, and Europe. They had a slight fall in comparable store sales that year, but as you can see, it just took off in the years following. Alright, that's how they got so big. So let's extend everything to today. By most key measures, including revenue, you can call 2010, 2011 their best years. But as I said, they haven't fallen too much from there. Here's a breakdown of all their revenue sources.
2010 and 2011 were arguably some of the best years of gaming. You could argue that was some of the best years. That was hey, some heat was dropping between them 2 years. 2010, 2011. There's a lot of heat dropping that year, bro. These gaming companies was actually on their shit, bro.
Going back to their public offering in 2002. The blue line is game systems, and they're really not too important for GameStop. The orange line is the new games that they're selling, and it's been on a steady decline for years. Keep in mind, this graph just shows their percentage of revenue, but obviously their total revenue is going down, so this is as well. And it's because they're getting hit from all angles. The shift toward digital downloads, I would say, is most responsible. Buying games straight from your PlayStation or whatever system, plenty of advantages.
And PC gaming. Can't forget about PC gaming. It's really hard to buy a console these days when PC gaming is the easy and simpler way. Plus, it's cost effective towards the consumer. You mean to tell me all I gotta do is buy a PC, build it up the right way, and voila? Nigga, you're done. That's why I said GameStop needs to turn into a thrift store, sell computer parts, and make gaming PCs and laptops and stuff like that. They need to buy wholesale of laptops and PCs and have them be rebuilt and sold in their stores at a low price. Imagine getting a gaming laptop. Imagine getting a Dell laptop or an HP laptop with 1 terabyte 16 gigs of RAM, a graphics card that can play basically any of the newer titles that have come out for just $150, you're winning at that point. That's all GameStop got to do if they want to stay afloat. Selling these consoles ain't gonna help. I don't see anybody who would go into a goddamn GameStop unless you trying to play some old ass games. But then again, with emulation now, that it's no purpose
to it that I'm sure I don't have to tell you about. And add to that game streaming from multiple platforms. You can also see how that would be negative for GameStop. Then, even when someone is looking for that physical copy, it's a competitive market. Obviously, Amazon, Best Buy had their Gamers Club. It's no surprise that this orange line has been going down, and I think most of us would predict that decline to continue. Their biggest issue is the gray line, used game sales, because it's been dropping even faster over the past 3 years. And you can see how that's tied to their decline in new game sales. Fewer new games sold means fewer used games out there, which is bad because their largest profit margin, essentially the most money they're making from any sale, comes from used games.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've experienced it. You go to trade in your copy of NBA 2K18 and they give you less than $1 for it, then they take it and sell it to someone else for $6.99. That's a pretty good profit margin, so they want that to be their main source of revenue. But as you can see, it's quickly becoming their smallest source. The yellow line, which represents everything else, has been rising.
Which is why when we sell our games now, a lot of us, some of us that live in big cities and stuff like that, a lot of us just go to the mom and pop thrift stores and sell our games over there because we're going to get a bang for our buck. So I'll put it to you like this. I had to get my car fixed. This is why I don't have a PlayStation 4 anymore. Remember during the pandemic years, I had a PlayStation 4? Yeah, well, I had to end up selling it because my car had broke down and I really needed to get it fixed because I had to go to work. So what I did was, for the repair cost, which was like $400, I took half of my paycheck. Then I went to this mom and pop thrift store, sold the PS4 outright, all the games that came with it. I sold the PS4, all the games that came with it. Instantly had $300 in my pocket. Had just enough to fix the problem that I had with my car. My car had a real bad problem. I need to get it fixed before it was too late. And I got it fixed. Nobody goes to GameStop because I looked it up online at GameStop. Dog, for the whole PS4, they would have gave me $50 for the fucking PS4. That shit is ridiculous. Go to the mom and pop thrift stores, they will gladly take a PlayStation 4 off your hands. They'll take anything off your hands and give you a good price back for it. Most definitely. Shout out to the mom and pop thrift stores, man.
Segment mainly consists of video game accessories and collectibles, but the margins aren't quite as high, and the sustainability of those numbers has come into question. A good part of it is from those Funko Pop figures, which many have labeled as a fad, plus those sales don't create loyal customers in the same way that video games do. The bottom line is, overall, their profit margins have been sinking for the past 3 years because they're having trouble selling the stuff that makes them money, which also happens to be the stuff that we most associate with them. The core of their business is becoming outdated, and everyone knows it. So the idea is GameStop needs to make some changes. They can hang on to this current model for a little longer, but we all see where it's headed, and many would argue they've already hung on for far too long.
Facts.
For a public company, it's hard to make those changes. You have millions of shareholders expecting quick results. Most of them aren't willing to stick around through a few bad years as they figure it out. It's like they need to call a timeout, get a little rest, huddle together, drop a few good plays, and get back back in the game, sort of what they were trying to do in the beginning of 2019 when they were looking for a buyer. That way they can be taken off the market and given a chance to try out some of these changes. Well, that never happened. They gave up on their search for a buyer and they remain on their own. Their stock price had a huge drop when they announced that and continued dropping ever since. Investors simply have no confidence in GameStop's business model and they've yet to outline something better. Let me know in the comments. What should they do? They need to give customers a reason to go there as opposed to downloading their games at home or stopping at Best Buy or wherever. And I think I've got it. Maybe they should start pushing the rewards program onto the customers. They hardly ever mention that. Okay, but
that's a goddamn lie. They will harass you they'll force you. I remember they used to force you into buying that. I remember and then one lady was like, oh yeah, and I looked at the receipt and she was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be $50. I'm like, $50? How is this $50? Oh, you get a rewards. We're gonna hook you up with a reward. I told her, I said, dude, I already got the rewards plan. Oh, you already have it? Yes. Why are you adding that on without? No, take that off. I already got it. I got my card right here. Take that off. And I gave her my card and she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. They told us to do that. I was like, bitch. Nah, chief. They forced that on you because they try to get money off you any way they can, bro. Y'all got, wait, that's why people don't really go into GameStop no more. Like real shit. Like, if you go into GameStop and you try to buy something, make sure you pay attention to the price. Calculate everything up. So if you go in there just to buy some fucking headphones for $5 and probably like a used game for the PlayStation 4 or whatever, say you're going to go get an old 2K because you want to play the old 2K, right? Or old Madden or old Call of Duty, right? And that Call of Duty and that 2K is like $10, right? So all in all, you're supposed to be paying like $15, but it come out to $20. Tell them, take that pro card off my shit. I'm not buying no pro card. Y'all gotta pay attention, bro. They will force you to. They will put a pro membership purchase they'll put a pro membership on your purchase without you even knowing. Pay attention to the price. I guarantee you, that's why people don't really fuck with GameStop like that, bro. I'm telling you. But yeah, if GameStop want to make a return, bro, like I said, man, they need to turn to a thrift shop like these like Game Exchange or these mom and pop shops and just sell everything you got in there at a very low price. You know what I'm saying? And it shouldn't just be the up-to-date consoles. It should also be the older consoles. They should have NESs, Sega Saturns, PlayStation 1s, PlayStation 2s, PlayStation 3s, Xbox 360s, original Xboxes. You know what I'm saying? All video game consoles should still be available in this store. Even if they do sit in the back and collect dust. Somebody's going to come in and want to purchase one. You know what I'm saying? And they also need to start selling computer parts. Like I said, sell computer parts for the low. You will make a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? If you get some used computer parts, sell it for the low. Get some refurbished computers and upgrade them. And then sell them for the low. Be like, this is a refurbished laptop. We got refurbished laptops. You get the refurbished laptop. Our cheapest option is $100 250 gigabyte 8 gig of RAM laptop. We can get that to you for $100. You know what I'm saying? Like, if y'all did shit like that, GameStop, y'all be good. But anyways, I'm just gonna about do it for this one. I'm gonna see y'all in the next video. GameStop is dying. I'm still surprised they still around to this day. They should be dead right now. I don't see why anybody would go into a GameStop these days. GameStop not even the same anymore. Look, they selling clothes, socks. They selling all type of shit. You used to go in there, all you used to see was video games. Now you see all type of shit in there now. Energy drinks. Like, what the fuck? Y'all start selling energy drinks. But anyways, I was just gonna about do it for this one. I'll see y'all next video. Till then, peace out.